Juliette Touma. She's the Director of Communications for the UN Relief Agency for Palestine Refugees. She's based in Jordan. Juliette, just tell us, what is the latest information you're gathering from your colleagues on the ground in Gaza?
The situation continues to worsen by the hour as the fighting intensifies, especially in and around Khan Yunis, which is the second largest city. People continue to be displaced. Our shelters are overwhelmed. We now have 1.3 million people who have come to our shelters as we get very, very close to 90% of the total population of Gaza being forced out of their homes.
And Juliette, people were being asked to go to specific sections of the Gaza Strip, but when they got there, they found there were no supplies there. There wasn't any shelter or water. What has happened since then? Because it's been days since people have been asked to move to these locations.
Look, the flow of basic supplies into the Gaza Strip is not at all enough. There needs to be much, much more humanitarian supplies, fuel, and that we've been calling for and asking for. We've not been getting enough or sufficient quantities of fuel in support of the humanitarian operation. And also there needs to be commercial supplies that need to start flowing in. You see, when I was in Gaza just a couple of weeks ago, every single shop, every pharmacy was closed. There is no market in Gaza apart from a few vegetable stalls here and there and a couple of bakeries that were open with very long queues. There's nothing there. So there needs to be a boost to the private sector so that the markets can reopen.
And what's your reaction to the announcement from Israel that is going to open the Nitzana and Kerem Shalom crossings?
We will monitor this very, very closely. If it does happen, that's going to be very welcome. I don't have the exact details on what exactly going to flow, but previous to the war, Kerem Shalom was able to process 500 trucks every day. So we're not sure if we're going to get to that. That's the minimum requirements for Gaza. And bear in mind, this is before Gaza was going through what has become a humanitarian catastrophe with almost everyone in Gaza in need of assistance.
And it's been, I think, about a week since the last pause in the fighting, and conversations, negotiations have stalled for another pause in the fighting. What do you expect to happen in the next few weeks if there isn't another ceasefire?
It's been 10 days since the pause has come to an end. Very sadly, because during the pause, there was some respite and some calm for people after going through a very, very brutal war and a very tight siege. So the very minimum is that we go back to another pause where the bombardment would stop and the flow and the displacement of people would come to an end. But what's really, really needed is a humanitarian ceasefire longer term.
Thank you very much. That's Juliette Touma, Director of Communications at the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees.